Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're not just reading a book.
Yeah.
We are stepping into what the author describes as a combat zone. If you've been looking around the world lately at your workplace, the legal system, the media, and just feeling like the rules of the game have been rewritten to specifically disadvantage men, then, well, you are going to want to pay close attention.
It's a heavy topic. But the source material today, it's fascinating because it doesn't pull any punches.
Not at all.
It argues this whole decline, it isn't an accident. It's not just, progress. He calls it a calculated spiritual and biological war.
And the manual we're breaking down has a title that tells you everything. It's Full Armor of God. We fight not flesh, but principalities of satanic cultural Marxism, female supremacist feminism, postmodernism, and intersectional misanthropy. The author is Conrad Riker.
It's a mouthful.
It is. And before we even start, I have to say, if you find value in us digging up these kinds of unfiltered ideas, hit that like and subscribe button right now. And honestly, if this resonates, you need to go to Amazon Kindle or Google Play Books and buy this book.
Riker really frames it as a survival guide.
Exactly, not just a book to read.
Right, he calls it a declaration of war. He's looking at the history of our institutions and arguing they've been captured by ideologies hostile to men. He calls it a red pill framework for reclaiming your own sovereignty. And you should definitely follow him at Conrad Riker on Substack for his ongoing stuff.
Okay, so let's get into this matrix he describes. We're going to cover everything from the divorce industrial complex to ancient philosophy, but we have to start with the diagnosis. Riker calls the modern world the abyss of gynocentrism. What does he actually mean by that?
Gynocentrism is a system that puts the needs, feelings, and safety of women above everything and everyone else. Riker's argument is that for most of history, society was patriarchal out of necessity.
A survival strategy.
It's a survival strategy, yeah. Men built and defended the perimeter. But he says now, in the West, we've flipped it. We still expect men to provide and protect, but we've, stripped them of any authority or respect.
And he says this is most obvious in the workplace. He has a very specific name for the HR department.
Human remains.
Human remains. Wow. That is a grim rebranding.
It's intentional. He argues HR used to be about finding the best person for the job. Now, he claims, HR exists to purge competent men who threaten this new female-centric social hierarchy.
And he has that anecdote that just crystallizes it.
The project manager,
Yeah.
right? An engineering type, direct, the kind. He's in a meeting and says, we need to execute this plan immediately.
Which is standard corporate talk. I've heard that 1,000 times.
In a rational world, yeah. But in the world Riker describes, this guy was dragged into a 3-hour HR meeting because a female subordinate claimed the word execute triggered a fear of, quote, imminent violence.
You're kidding me.
And Riker's point isn't that the employee was just sensitive. It's that the institution backed her feeling over his actual intent. The system is set up to pathologize normal masculine traits.
So aggression, directness, all that becomes toxic.
That's precisely.
Yeah.
The goal isn't profit or excellence anymore. It's emotional consensus, a safe space. If you're a man who solves problems, you're seen as a virus.
And Riker says this rot starts way before you even get a job. He traces it to the education system.
The war on excellence, he calls it. This is a crucial historical point in the book. He talks about the removal of the trivium from schools.
Okay, unpack that. The trivium.
The trivium is the classical way of teaching. 3 parts: grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Grammar is the rules of language. Logic is how to think, how to spot fallacies. And rhetoric is how to persuade.
So, how to build a solid argument.
And Riker argues that the captured institutions got rid of it on purpose to stop kids from learning how to think critically.
So they stopped teaching boys how to think.
And started teaching them what to feel. He says it was all to push equity of outcome. And he is very blunt about this. He calls equity of outcome a biological impossibility.
Because of the innate differences between men and women.
Right. He brings up evolutionary data showing men and women have different aptitudes, different drives. Men populate the extremes, more geniuses, but also more idiots. Women cluster more around the average.
Okay.
So Riker's argument is, if you demand perfect 50-50 representation in every single field, you have to actively punish high-performing men. You have to hamstring the fastest runner.
Which leads into the spiritual side of it, the spiritual vacuum.
This part is fascinating. Riker's theory is that you can't have a society without a religion. If you take out Christianity, you don't get some neutral, secular utopia. You get a vacuum, and a new religion rushes in to fill it.
And that new religion is?
Wokeism, social justice. But he says it's a broken religion. In Christianity, you have original sin, sure, but you also have redemption, forgiveness.
And in this new one,
In the framework he describes, for the white male, you get the original sin of privilege, but with absolutely no path to redemption. You can never apologize enough. It's a system of perpetual guilt.
okay, so that's the diagnosis. The workplace is a minefield, schools are sabotaged, the culture offers no way out, it's bleak.
It's very bleak.
But the book is called Full Armor of God, so he does offer a way to fight back.
He does. And the first weapon he hands you is that lost education we just talked about. He says men need to weaponize the trivium.
Okay, so how does that work in real life? Like, you're in an argument. How do you use grammar as a weapon?
It starts with defining your terms. He says the other side wins by making language fuzzy. They use words like racism or woman or violence in these subjective ways. Speech is violence, that kind of thing.
Right.
Riker says you use grammar to demand a precise definition. You nail it down. You refuse to use their language. You anchor the debate in reality from the start.
And logic.
That's where he brings in his syllogism of the sexes.
Yeah.
He wants men to use formal logic to just dismantle emotional arguments.
Can you walk us through how that syllogism works?
Sure. It's basically premise A. Men and women have different biological drives and preferences. Premise B. Different preferences lead to different life choices, like what job you take. Conclusion. Therefore, unequal outcomes are natural and expected, not proof of some grand conspiracy.
And if you can walk someone through that, you undercut the entire basis for equity.
That's his point. But that first premise about biology, that is the bedrock of the whole book. He dives into what he calls the dark truths of female biology.
He uses a lot of manosphere terms here, right? Hypergamy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He completely rejects the blank slate theory. He points to things like the SRY gene, testosterone. He calls it the fuel of civilization. But the core concept he keeps coming back to is hypergamy.
For anyone who doesn't know, what's the simple definition?
Hypergamy is the theory that women have an evolutionary drive to marry up, find a partner with higher status, more resources, better genes. Riker says it isn't shallow, it's a survival instinct.
And this leads to that phrase he uses, alpha fucks, beta bucks.
It's crude, yeah, but he uses it to explain the dual mating strategy. The theory is that women need two things: good genes from the alpha, the exciting, dangerous guy, and security and provision from the beta, the reliable provider.
And Riker says the modern state has just completely broken this dynamic.
Totally broken it. Because the state now provides the security. This is his state as uber beta concept.
The government is the new husband.
Exactly. Through welfare, child support, the family court system, a woman doesn't need a beta male for survival anymore, because the state takes resources from men through taxes and just gives them to her.
Which brings us to the wage gap. He calls it a choices gap.
Yeah, he's very data focused here. He points out that men do almost all of the most dangerous jobs: logging, mining, combat. Men work longer hours. Why? To get resources to be an attractive mate, to satisfy hypergamy. He says the gap isn't about discrimination, it's about men trading safety for money.
He also goes after the myth of the peaceful matriarchy.
Right. He argues the idea of some prehistoric, goddess-worshipping utopia is a total fantasy. He says history was brutal, and patriarchy emerged as the only structure that could organize a defense against that violence. It wasn't about oppressing women, it was about keeping the tribe from being wiped out.
Let's shift to the battlefield where he thinks men are taking the worst casualties: family and law. He calls the family court a racketeering enterprise.
This is maybe the most fiery part of the book. He basically describes the divorce industrial complex as a machine designed to strip men of their kids and their money. The system, he argues, has a financial incentive to break up families. That's how the lawyers get paid.
And his take on the deadbeat dad label is, wow, it's really controversial.
It's a complete reframe. We're taught that a father who doesn't pay child support is a villain. Full stop.
Right.
Riker flips it. He argues that if a court denies a man access to his own children but still demands his money, that's not justice. That's a form of slavery.
So for him, refusing to pay is what? Civil disobedience?
Economic civil disobedience. He argues it's immoral to fund the very system that has stolen your children from you. You're funding the machine that's crushing you.
That is a huge perspective shift. What about the men who do play along? He calls them simps or white knights.
He's brutal on these men.
Yeah.
Riker argues that the simp The man who enforces all these feminist rules hoping for a little validation is actually an economic saboteur.
How does that work economically?
He says it's like inflation. If you give away your attention, your protection, your resources for free without demanding anything in return.
You devalue what you have to offer.
Exactly. You create an inflation of female ego and a deflation of male worth. You wreck the sexual marketplace for every other guy trying to hold a standard.
So if you're trapped in this hostile environment, what's the strategy? He suggests becoming a gray rock.
The gray rock method. It's tactical boredom. Riker says these systems and the people in them, they feed on your emotional reactions. They want you angry. They want you to apologize. They want you to cry. That gives them power.
So you just give them nothing.
You give them nothing. You become unreactive, emotionally flat. You answer with facts. You don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. You just exist like a boring gray rock. You starve the emotional vampire.
Okay, that's the defense. The title is Full Armor of God. Let's talk offense. He adapts this biblical metaphor into a secular red pill framework.
He does, yeah. It's 4 key parts. First is the belt of truth.
And for Riker, truth isn't theology.
It's biological reality. It's accepting hypergamy, demographic data, all the hard truths society calls hate speech. He says you have to strap that truth on and never take it off.
Then the breastplate of righteousness.
He interprets this in a purely physical way. It's your body. He says the dad bod is a psychological operation, a psyop. A soft population is easier to control. The breastplate is about lifting heavy weights, being physically formidable, capable of violence, but disciplined.
Third is the helmet of salvation.
That's protecting your mind from gaslighting. When the media tells you diversity is our strength or masculinity is toxic, the helmet is your mental filter. It keeps your internal monologue pure.
And finally, the sword of the spirit.
That's the offensive weapon. That's the logic and rhetoric we talked about. It's not enough to just know the truth. You have to be able to articulate it, to cut through bad arguments. It's the ability to speak dangerous truths clearly.
He also mentions a demon of effeminacy, Malakia.
Yeah, it's a Greek term. He sees it not just as physical softness, but moral softness. The inability to stand for anything, the worship of comfort over truth. He calls it a spiritual sickness in modern men.
To fight that, he prescribes a detox, a Daniel fast for the mind.
This is his practical challenge. He argues modern men are trapped in dopamine loops. Porn, outrage news, social media, they're tools of control that keep you docile and distracted.
So the fast is a hard reset.
The 30-day digital detox. No porn, no news, no social media. He says if you can't control what you look at, you can't control your life. You have to reset your brain's reward system to get your focus back.
So when you zoom out, what's the end goal here? Is he trying to save the system?
No, absolutely not. And that's the final paradigm shift. Riker believes the institutions are too far gone. You can't fix human remains. You can't reform the courts. They're designed to be what they are now.
You cannot save a civilization that hates you.
That's the quote. But the second part is key. But you can survive its fall. He's calling for a masculine renaissance. For men to reject what he calls the jellyfish of postmodernism.
And embrace the iron logos. That sounds rigid.
It's meant to be. It's a worldview based on competence and hierarchy. It's about recognizing order is better than chaos. He wants men to become the remnant, the ones who hold on to the truth and are ready to rebuild when the current system finally collapses.
So it's not a call to protest, it's a call to become a fortress.
To become dangerous, competent, and sovereign. Yes, Riker calls it dangerous knowledge because once you see the world this way, you can't unsee it.
This has been an incredibly intense deep dive. Whether you agree with every single point or not, the framework he offers, it connects the dots. It explains the fracture so many men are feeling.
It gives a vocabulary to a frustration that is usually just silenced.
If you're feeling that fire, you need to go to the source. Go to Amazon Kindle, go to Google Playbooks right now, buy Full Armor of God by Conrad Riker, support the author. This is the manual you didn't know you needed.
And definitely follow him at Conrad Riker on Substack. The analysis is ongoing, and it's essential for keeping that helmet of salvation on tight.
Absolutely. Like, subscribe, and share this deep dive with a friend who needs to wake up and see the battlefield for what it is. This is dangerous information, but it might just be the thing that saves you.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Stay sharp.